Hello everyone, I'm Ian Wishart, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to another episode of the Take a Pew podcast. Mate, what are you doing?
Well, you said I could introduce the show.
I said you could, theoretically, if necessary, not that you actually should.
Sorry, mate.
That's okay. Yes, hello everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of season 3 of the Take a Pew podcast. And our guest this time is the rather marvellous Steve Legg. Steve has an international ministry that has seen him communicating the gospel through magazine publishing, film production, book writing, podcasting, as well as his mainstay of delivering live entertainment featuring comedy, magic and even escapology.
Oh, isn't that the study of the end of times and heaven and stuff?
No, that's eschatology.
I thought that was the study of fish.
No, that's pescatology. You of all people should know that, mate, being a marine biologist. Anyway, too many ologies, mate. Shall we move on? Or people might start to think the Take a Pew podcast is actually quite erudite.
What, like a really strong glue?
No, that's erudite. Look, at this rate, we're going to need some escapology to get out of this terrible intro. Let's get on with the show. This is the Take a Pew podcast with Steve Legg.
Steve Legg.
And here we are in the splendid coastal town of Littlehampton, and more specifically in the home of our guest, Steve Legg. Steve, welcome to the show, and please, take a pew.
Oh, thank you. Very comfortable. More comfortable than I imagined.
Oh, hello, Steve. It's great to meet you. Perhaps you could just introduce yourself to our lovely listeners.
Yeah, well, I'm Steve, just 56, though I know I don't look it. I'm married to Becca, have 5 daughters. 20, 22, 25, 28, 31. Strange names, I know, but kind of easy to remember. And I guess you'd kind of call me a creative communicator. I do all sorts. Hearing that list made me feel quite exhausted. And was that a balalaika in that jingle?
Very possibly, yes. So let's get going on the Take a Pew road trip. As ever, we will be stopping at the service stations we like to call My Favourite Things, Is It True, and Simon's Random Question, as well as taking a break for the fabulous Take a Pew dinner party.
Yes, and along the way, we will of course be taking on board your spiritual pearl of wisdom.
Indeed we will. But let's buckle up and hit the highway of the life and times of Steve Legg. Where did life start for you, Steve? I understand it was somewhere that smelt of sherbet lemons.
Sherbet lemons? I come from Bournemouth.
There's no hidden
born
meat.
and bred.
What
Sherbet lemons come from Bournemouth?
I think probably the Bournemouth is the home of sherbet. No, that's completely irrelevant.
Is that a factoid?
No.
You completely made that up.
It's a Take a Pew surreal comment.
Do you know what? I love it. That is very surreal. And I've got to say, I'm not a sweet fan. I love chocolate. If I had to choose between the two, it would be chocolate every time. Sweets. I think even if you paid me, I wouldn't have a sweet, unless it was Jelly Baby. Very fond of Jelly Babies. But born and bred in Bournemouth, grew up there. Mum, dad, little brother David. Happiest childhood. Went to Kingsley School in West Howe.
Which is, because I also grew up in Bournemouth, as it happens.
I know.
Yes, it's wonderful. So for the listeners, West Howe is kind of like the Chelsea Kensington part of London, isn't it?
It's more like the Bronx. And went to Kingsley Secondary School, left at 16, had no idea what I wanted to do. At our school down in West Howe, no one went to uni. Everyone did apprenticeships. Went into producing sherbet dibdabs or whatever they were called. But I joined Barclays Bank.
All right, very good.
I had a friend who worked for the bank, and she said, come for an interview. Went for an interview, and at the age of 16 started working for Barclays. And I was based in Ferndale, which, as the crow flies, is about 6 miles from Wallasdown, but it was 4 buses a day because I couldn't drive at 16. So it was a real shock to the system having to get up at 6:30, catch a couple of buses to get there, and then getting home at 8, 9 in the evening, and then having to do my banking exams. But I thoroughly enjoyed it and had 5 years of fun and japes, and I've got a photographic memory, which is very useful. So I remembered every customer's name, and they loved it. But I was always getting into trouble for messing around. And I had an office manager at my last branch who hated me. And I got him on every mailing list possible. I went to the library and filled in forms And every day in the post, he was getting catalogues for Saga holidays and surgical supports and all sorts of stuff. And he knew it was me, but he couldn't pin it on me. But that was great fun, and I've been on the road ever since.
What a rascal.
Yes.
What a rascal. Anyway, well, we'll come back to the illustrious banking career in a while. But first, we have one of our standard questions for you, just winding the clock back a little bit, and it is...
What were you like at school? Were you a little bit geeky? Or were you a little bit freaky? Or were you a little bit cheeky? What were you like at school?
Yes, Steve, what were you like at school?
Do you know, I was cheeky, I was pretty good, but I was always cracking jokes and finding the funny in everything. So I don't think I ever had a detention. At our school, I mean, people were still caned back then, but I never really got into trouble. I always escaped things using my sharp
Your wit and repartee.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So I think the staff liked me. I was deputy head boy, so I must have been doing okay.
What about subjects, Steve? What did you like most?
Do you know what? I kind of like music. We had a really inspirational music teacher called Mr. Bazanko, and the Bazankos were a huge name in Bournemouth and Salvation Army. So all Salvation Army guys and brass bands, and we had a really great brass band. So really fell in love with that. Kind of enjoyed maths. English I did pretty well. In fact, my mum still talks about this to this day. I did my English O-level a year early.
Ooh.
So how about that? So I enjoyed school. It was fun.
Yeah.
It was a 15-minute walk from home, so walk there and back and in all weathers.
I seem to remember the brass band. And there was another school called
Oakmead.
Oakmead.
Yeah,
And
Oakmead
they
were
had
the
a brass
arch
band.
rivals.
Yes.
Yeah, they had a great brass band as well.
Yeah.
Battle of the Bands or something.
Yes, I don't know why that's...
There were some major scraps
Yeah,
between
really.
Kingsley and what did we say it was called?
Oakmead.
Oakmead, yeah.
That's the one, yeah.
And I tell you what's been amazing, back over the years, I've gone back and done schools work in all those schools in Bournemouth, and it's lovely. It's a real eye-opener when you go into the staff room at the school that you went to and you see all the teachers who taught you.
What about churchy stuff? Was that happening in your school days?
Do you know what? I saw a poster, and you know, sometimes in life, these life-changing moments, and you sometimes look back and you think, wow, if I hadn't seen that poster, if someone had put that up, what would I be doing today? It was advertising Boys Brigade. It was a new Boys Brigade company starting 5 minutes from my house in Wallerstown Methodist Church. And I thought, oh, that looks interesting. And I looked into it a little bit, and the Boys Brigade, just like Scouts really and Cubs, but church-based, which was a bit of a drawback for me, because I thought all this stuff was boring. And then I went along to church and realised it really was boring. Do you know what? I felt sorry for God having to be there. I mean, seriously, omnipresence has its drawbacks, doesn't it? But on the plus side, I could play football every Saturday, and there was a girls' brigade. So I thought, well, I can put up with the church side because of that. So I saw this poster, went along, and stayed there a year in, went on a Boys Brigade camp, and there was a vicar there who believed in God and communicated the Christian message in a really relevant way that I understood for the first time. And I thought, why has no one ever explained this to me like this before? And we were given a little booklet called Journey into Life, and it had a little road sign on the front, so we all called it Journey Round the Bend. But we just read it, and I just read it so many times. And it talked about having a friendship with God, relationship with God. It's not about going to church or helping old ladies across the road, or, you know, singing Kumbaya or Lord of the Dance or anything like this. It's about having a personal friendship with God. And I thought, I'm going to do something about this. And at the end of this week down in Devon, got home, dumped the suitcase in the kitchen, ran to my bedroom, got on my knees and said the prayer in the back of the booklet, asking God to come and change my life because I wanted to follow him forever. And it changed my life.
What did all your Kingsley mates make of your new...
Well, within
life?
24 hours, it said in the booklet, tell someone. So when I told me dad, he'd clipped me around the ear and swore at me and said, what have you done a stupid thing like that for? You probably realise I'm a first-generation Christian. And I told my mates, some of my mates were quite cool about it. Some of them were believers anyway. My mate Richard Bertha, who went on to become a Baptist minister in Bournemouth. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of a fun, coolish person. So as far as they were concerned, I've not really changed. I wasn't a drug taker. I wasn't beating people up. I was a nice guy.
It's all very familiar, actually, because I too was in the Boys Brigade.
Were you really?
And, at a United Reformed Church.
In Bournemouth?
In Bournemouth, yeah. And I also went to the Boys Brigade because that was the way into the football team.
Yeah.
We only had to go to church once a month, though, I think, if I remember
did
right.
you? Oh, we had to go every week.
I think just Parade Sunday or
Yeah.
something. So there we are. New Christian coming to the end. So you mentioned you left school at 16,
Yeah.
went into to bank. Did you have any other thoughts at that? Did you just fall into Barclays, so to
I
speak?
didn't know what I wanted to do. So my mum and dad said, well, if you get a job in a bank, you'll be safe for life. Little did they know. I mean, banks are closing everywhere, aren't they? All the ones in our village here have closed. So I did it, and I thought, I don't know what I want to do with my life. You know, being a Christian had changed my life, and I thought, well, maybe I could be Christian bank manager, and loads of money, put it into the kingdom, resource things. I didn't think I had any other talents, really. But I started going to Spring Harvest on my holidays, and I thought I want to serve. So I was a steward because I didn't think I could do anything else. But I thought, you know, I could shift chairs and say to people, you can't park there. And I looked great in a yellow tabard and a walkie-talkie. So I went and did that, really.
Gives you all sorts
year.
of power, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? Just there's something about a tabard and a walkie-talkie and add a clipboard to the mix. You can get in anywhere.
So it's all sounding very grown up now. So before we move on, I think it's time for our next regular feature, which is...
What's your fondest childhood memory? What's your fondest of all your childhood memories? What's your fondest?
Oh. Yes.
Do you know what? That's a really tricky question. I don't want people to feel sorry for me, but I don't think I've got very many happy childhood memories. My mum and dad were so strict.
Well, okay.
And
That's
we
interesting.
didn't really have holidays because the dad just obsessed with working and paying off the mortgage. There's something I do remember vividly. My gran used to take me out a lot, and she took us all over the place, dancing on ice and all that sort of thing at the ice rink. And just went to the Panto once. And we got there early, and Leslie Crowther was the big star, and he was just walking in, and he said hello, and to me, wow, I've met a celebrity. Do you remember Leslie Crowther?
Of course,
Yeah,
I do very well.
Come on down, yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw Leslie Crowther in Panto as well.
Yeah.
It was either him or Roy Castle. Or
Well, of
possibly
course,
both.
Roy got a house down there because I'm very good friends with Fiona Castle, Roy's widow. So I knew we knew Roy and Fiona a little bit. What a legend he was.
Yeah.
So we probably would have seen Roy in Panto
Yes.
as well down at the pavilion.
I definitely have. I have a small autograph book which doesn't have many autographs in, but it's definitely got both of those in it.
How amazing.
Yeah, lovely. So Panto.
Yeah, it was a memory. Probably other memories were things I was doing by myself or with my mates. So at the Boys Brigade, you know, those long summer days in camp down in Sidmouth or Axmouth, you know, playing football all day, beautiful sunny days, the smell of chemical toilets. I mean, it's bliss. You get taken straight back there, don't you?
It's funny how we all remember those long, balmy summers that I'm sure never existed apart from 1976, probably. But
Oh, it's true,
It's,
isn't it?
yeah.
I mean, I often say to people when I speak about families and kids that children don't remember days, they remember moments. And it is just those key little moments. So as a dad to my 5 girls, just try to create moments. And it's not so easy now because they've all left home and whatever. But when they were tiny, just creating those little moments. I was a single dad for 5 years with my 3 little ones. And the first Christmas without them was really tough. So I picked them up on Boxing Day, took them back to my house, and I hired a snow machine. So as they came back to my house, it was the only house in the whole of Sussex with snow everywhere. So just that little moment that they talk about, even now, it's lovely, isn't it?
Do you remember like a particular plate of food or something you had when you were growing up in those days? Because you were sort of saying it's quite evocative, isn't it? Like smell, for example. You said you went back to the school that time. And
Oh, I
could
tell you what, I
smell
do
the same.
remember. Yeah, we had grandparents come over from Denmark. My mum's Danish, so I'm half Viking. And we had grandparents come from Denmark every year. And we went down to this little restaurant in Bournemouth, the Steak and Trat. Do you remember the Steak
I
and
do,
Trat?
yeah.
Ian?
Trapped.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it was the kind of thing. So this is 80s. So we all thought this was so trendy. So prawn cocktail starter.
Of course.
Steak and chips with one of those tomatoes cut in half with the little serrated edges. And Black Forest Gatto for pudding.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll never forget it. My granddad always gave the waitress a £5 as a tip, and that just blew my mind because seeing a £5 being given away as a tip,
That's
it
a
seems
lot.
like £50 today.
You could buy 2 Action Men for that, couldn't you, in those days?
Do you know what? You
£5.
probably could.
There was a waitress from the Steak and Track once who had 48 action men at home. It was inexplicable how that had happened.
And with our age as well, I mean, we were there when Action Man Hard Hands went to the movable rubber ones.
Yeah.
Did you have a Rubik's Cube as well? Because that was the hit of the 80s,
Yes.
late 70s.
Yes. So, well, I think I borrowed one from a friend at school. Or
Yeah.
something. I did learn how
Could
to
you do it?
Yeah.
Could you do it?
I
I
used to
never
be
did
able
the
to do
last row. I know, so taking it apart and putting it back together.
My
But that was
brother
cheating,
could
wasn't
do it in about a minute, and this is before YouTube or anything. I could never do it. I actually do a Rubik's Cube trick in my act where I solve it in seconds, and that's a lot of fun. So
Okay, so Barclays for a little bit, but obviously can't do that forever. And I agree, it was safe as houses type job, wasn't it? But you said after 5 years you hit the road. So
Yeah,
pick
I
up the
did.
story from there.
Well, taking it back, I mentioned
Yeah.
about the stewarding at Spring Harvest. And stewarding 1 year at Spring Harvest, and a fellow was preaching, and he said, "I believe tonight God is calling people into full-time Christian work as evangelists." And this might sound really weird if, for people listening without faith, that I felt God nudge me and say, "Yeah, I'm calling you. I want you to do this full-time." So I went forward, and he prayed for me, and I just felt from that moment on, right, this is what I'm going to do. And I went home and told my parents, who went ballistic. As
Did you get
can
another
imagine.
clip round the ear at that point?
Oh, man. Well, I was 20 then, but seriously, the emotional blackmail and the disapproval for the whole year. And I went on a scheme called TIE Teams, which stands for Training in Evangelism, part of Gerald Coates' Pioneer Network, this brand new training scheme. And I went on it, and it was absolutely life-changing. And I was seconded to work with a full-time evangelist, a fellow called Pete Gilbert, who had pioneered really creative communication. So he was doing escapology. He was getting out of handcuffs and straitjackets, and I was really into magic anyway. I'd seen Paul Daniels make an elephant disappear on the Paul Daniels Magic Show when I was about 12 as well. So I was into magic, worked with Pete, and he said, "Look, if you're really serious about taking this on," because he wanted to phase out the escapology, he said, "You need to get a straitjacket." So, as you do, I did. Got myself a straitjacket and a few pairs of handcuffs, and the rest is history. And this year celebrate 35 years on the road of doing creative evangelism. So I was doing escapology for years. Churches hired me in. Sometimes we'd do big outdoor stunts where we'd hire in a 25-ton road crane, and I'd be hoisted upside down, 40 metres upside down by my ankles, in a straitjacket, escape, come down again, which is really dramatic, and I don't like heights. And sometimes you'd be swaying away, and if it was raining, the water would go up your nose, and you'd never consider any of these things until you're hanging upside down in a straitjacket.
Yeah.
And that's really taken me around the world, probably about 30 countries over the years, probably everywhere in the UK. I've been everywhere once. Very rarely do I get re-invited back. But I absolutely love it.
And it's been an amazing ministry over those 35 years.
Do you know,
hasn't
Ian, it's got me places I would never have gone if I was just had a big black Bible and sandals and socks. It's got me onto telly numerous occasions. And you reach millions of people in one go, and it's generally everything I've done has been live. So my first telly was with Jonathan Ross and his show. One of my favourite places was Mexico City, and I used to go there and work with some churches there. And we were there over Halloween, and there was a big festival called the Festival of the Dead, the Day of the Dead, which is this very weird sort of occult type thing. And I asked if I could perform as part of that, and they got me on stage. There must have been 2,000 people there, and there were coffins and people in robes, and I escaped from a straitjacket, and I talked about things in our lives tying us up and stop us from being free. And I believe as a Christian, God can set people free, and who wants to meet the Lord of Life on the Day of the Dead? 200 to 300 people streamed forward and became Christians at an occult festival.
Fantastic.
And would you believe it? It went down so well, they invited me back the following year. I was on the posters. And you think, how crazy is that? You think I put them out of business. But just amazing opportunities. And I think it's just showing people that Christians aren't all wallies who go around in socks and sandals looking miserable. Jesus said, "I've come to give you life in all its fullness." We should be the most fun, joyful people you'll ever wish to meet.
Yes, I prefer to take a rather more serious view of faith.
Yeah, right.
And so, no, I agree entirely.
So just a quick question for you, because you mentioned your folks a couple of times.
Yes.
In that. Did you eventually win them over?
Never won them
Really?
over. No,
Yeah.
my mum and dad's still alive and kicking, probably 84 and 82. I mean, we've had some incredible, some really sad things happen in the family. My dad's younger brother, Richard, 25 years ago, suddenly developed leukemia and was at death's door. And we all went to say goodbye to him at the Pool Hospital. And I just felt God was going to heal him. And he did. He had another 25 years of life. And they talked about it so much. But then 2 years ago, I lost my younger brother. He had a brain tumour. Started feeling ill around Christmas time and shuffling around. Went to see the quack eventually. Discovered he had this horrible brain tumour and lasted about 10 months and died, when he was 49. So these highs and lows, and they still don't get it, and they still ask when I'm going to get a proper job. And I'm 56. Come on.
Oh, it's never too late. No. Hopefully. So that's a wonderful ministry. But we said at the top that there's so much that you're a real multimedia mogul. Something else that's been going for a long time is your magazine, which you founded, Sorted.
Sorted magazine, yeah.
And that's been going great guns, still going.
15 years old now. Yeah, everything I do is kind of creative communication. When I discovered the gospel, and that's a religious word that means good news, I thought I've got to tell people, because good news is for sharing, isn't it? Isn't it wrong to keep good news to ourselves? And I thought, let's do it in all sorts of ways. So I realised through the gigs, I probably do 45,000 miles a year, and maybe on a good year 120 to 150 gigs, but I can't reach everyone. And over the years, I think I've done 1.5 million miles. Which is probably enough nectar points for a set of tumblers.
It's a shame you never learned to drive, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it would have been so much easier.
Wouldn't it have been easier?
Yeah.
But the Assorted magazine, do you know what? It started with a conversation in the school playground. I was chatting to my accountant there, and I always have to explain to people we both did have kids at the school. We didn't just meet there to discuss my tax return.
Would be sinister indeed.
Yeah,
Wouldn't
yeah,
it?
slightly dodgy.
And he was telling me how his 10-year-old son's mates were bringing lads mags into the playground, things like Nuts and Loaded and FHM. And he was saying, wouldn't it be great if someone started something good and wholesome for fellas? Something good and credible and relevant that didn't objectify women, that wasn't sexual, all this sort of stuff. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. And I felt God nudge me. And I felt God say, well, why don't you have a crack at it? And I thought, well, what do I know beyond having an O-level English a year early, which I've already mentioned. But, and I stepped out in faith. And I thought, I've got no money, but I needed 5k for the first one. So we spoke to Kaká, the Brazilian footballer. And at the time, he was very famous for taking his Brazil top, I think, off. And there was another T-shirt underneath that said, I belong to Jesus, that had gone all over the world. So we interviewed Kaká. And there was a guy called Bear Grylls who was starting to get famous. He wasn't the megastar that he is now. So I asked Bear if he'd been involved. And he's been involved in every edition since we started 15 years ago. And we produced the first one. And I was one of the main speakers at this big men's event in Northern Ireland called Mandate, which is a very unfortunate title for a Christian men's event, which you'll see if you Google, so please don't Google. But an amazing event, 4,000 guys at the Odyssey in Belfast, and Owen McManus, this big speaker, came over from the States, and we launched it there and probably got 1,000 subscribers that weekend. So I thought, I'm on to something. And then a week later, one of my mates phoned up and said, I want to send you some money. Well, £5,000 help. And it's kind of gone from there. And it's, to be honest with you, boys, it's an absolute financial disaster. I pay myself £50 a week. So I've got to pay myself something. And I think I'd earn more with a paper round. But it goes all over the place. We send them free into 77 prisons. We used to send 80 copies into Belmarsh, which is a Category A prison, with some challenging guys in there. And the chaplain wrote to me saying, could you send more mags? Because scuffles are breaking out when the magazine arrives. They're fighting over a Christian magazine. And over the years, when we've raised money, we've given copies away. We've done copies at airport departure gates, which is very exciting because people pick them up because they're stuck on a plane with nothing to read. We've had 2 pilots write to me independently who became Christians. So they picked up a copy on a plane. So amazingly exciting.
It's been a great success, hasn't it? And the thing I've noticed is that you consistently get uber famous people on the cover in particular. How do you get in touch with them?
Do you know what? 3 ways, really. Either I know them personally. So if I know them personally, I'll drop them a line saying, can we do something with you? Secondly, people offer us stories. Our current one's got Shawn Mendes, the Canadian singer, superstar on it. A journalist wrote to me saying, I've just done this great interview with Shawn Mendes. He talks about his faith. You're a faith magazine. Would you like this? This is an exclusive. It's 200 quid, etc., etc. Or we commission stuff. So if I want something, if I've heard someone being interviewed and I think, oh, this is interesting, maybe there's a faith story there, I speak to a news agency, which is different from a news agency like Smith's, which incidentally Sorted is available in Smith's, the only Christian magazine ever been available on the high street. And they would say, look, Sorted magazine wants an interview with Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. Has anyone got any contacts there? And someone will come back and say, yeah, we can do it.
Really good. Well,
it's really important for us, particularly being a news agents, because even if you had, the best looking vicar in the world, most people wouldn't pick that up. So our cover really matters. And we want the man in the street to pick up this magazine, read it, enjoy it, be entertained, laugh, be interested, and hear about Jesus in a way that's not Bible bashy and threatening. I just wish it could be a little bit easier. We're always fundraising. You know, the prison ministry is really exciting. We just love some Christians with a bit of dough to put some money in so we could do more and give more copies away, because we got the infrastructure there. You know, if someone gave me £1 million today, we could give away 1 million copies every 2 months. Bars, restaurants, tube, railway stations, gyms. I just wish some of this Christian stuff wasn't such hard work. I'm thinking, if I was God, I think I might make that a little bit easier.
Well, it's a great ongoing story, and it's sortedmag.com.
Sortedmag.com. Check it out. £36 a year for subscription. And we say to people, you know, it comes to the post every 2 months. Once you've read it, take it to work, leave it in the canteen, leave it at doctors, dentists, barbers, coffee shop. Just leave it somewhere. It's a really easy thing to do, because there'll be something in a magazine to intrigue people. I mean, I love books. I've written, I think, about 17 over the years, and I love books, but there's something about a book. You've really got to be into a book to read a book. But a magazine, you'll look at the cover and you'll see gadgets and humour and fitness and cars, and you think, oh, Bear Grylls is in here, and see what Bear's got to say, and there's little nuggets about faith, and it's just really exciting. There's something for everyone in Sorted.
Yeah, so you mentioned books, because there's loads of other strings to your bow, as it were. So lots of books that you've done, and with Becca, your wife, as well. The Together series is
we've done some family devotions. We were
Yeah.
asked to do 3 months of devotions for families to sit down and study the Word of God and have some fun and a little prayer. And that went so well, they asked us to do another 3 months, and another 3, then another 3. So we'd done 4 books, and then we thought, well, hang on, we've done 48 weeks here, 52 weeks in a year, so we did another 4-week Christmas one. So they're really good, and we like those, and lovely hearing from families who sit down and do that together.
Very nice. How did you find working together? Was it?
I've got to say, my wife is the real brains of the outfit, and she did most of the work.
I presumed as much, but
Yes.
I didn't like to say anything. But...
I just came up with Steve's fascinating fact. I love factoids, so yes.
As if that weren't enough, you made a film
I did.
back in the day.
I thought, well, how do we get people thinking about Jesus at Christmas? Because I've noticed every year Jesus gets a little bit more pushed out at Christmas. And I thought, well, let's stop moaning about it. Let's do something positive. So it started as just a little card that looked like a birth announcement that said, "It's a boy." And people opened it, and it talked about this little baby who was born 2,000 years ago in a stinking old shed next door to a pub in the middle of nowhere. And his name was Jesus, and he loved you, and all this sort of stuff. So it was kind of like a little tract. And I encouraged people to get them and put them in Christmas cards. And I really sort of egged it up into this national campaign, let's do it. And I thought, let's be really creative, because I do think outside the box. And I wrote to Coronation Street and EastEnders and Emmerdale and told them about this national campaign. And I said, it'd be really good if a card could appear, you know, on set. So we had one in Emmerdale that appeared in the vicar's mantelpiece. And I thought, wow, that's cool. So we took it from there. So then it became a super tract the following year. So it became a little booklet as well. And then it became a hardback book, and I thought, how are we going to reach every child in every school? And I thought, how about turning it into a cartoon? And I thought, right, how do we retell the Christmas story? How do we give a kind of a bird's eye view? It suddenly struck me, how about telling the story through the eyes of 3 little birds, 3 little quails, called Bobby, Tommy and Queenie. And my friends Cannon and Ball were Bobby and Tommy, and my other friend Alexa, great actress, played Queenie. And we produced this cartoon. Brilliant. And I found an amazing animator. And he said, yeah, it'll take me 3 months, cost you 20,000 quid. And I thought, flipping heck, I haven't got 200 quid for this. This is another one of these sorted moments, you know, to pray this money in. Would you believe it? It took 3 years and cost $250,000. I think if it had told me that at the beginning, I wouldn't have had the faith to step out for that. We had a world premiere at the Odeon Cinema, Leicester Square. I thought, how are we going to launch this? Who wants to do it in a big church when you can do it where everyone else launches their movies? Phone this guy up. He said, sure. Do you want the 550-seater cinema or the 850? I said, we'll have the 850, and we could have outsold it 3 times. So that was amazing. And then the following day, we sent a free copy to every single primary school in the UK. 24,199 primary schools. I know that number because I had ordered the jiffy bags and the postage. 15 years on now, we still hear from teachers who use it.
What I really like about that, one of the many things I like about that story is the gentle intro of 20 grand. Not the $250,000.
Yeah.
Without which you might not have done it.
Do you know what, Ian? Faith is a muscle, isn't it? And I think you stretch it and you learn and you grow.
Very nice. Who would have thought 3 quail could... Is it quail or quails? What's the plural of quail?
No, that's a good one, yeah.
Don't know. So much going on. Are you part of a local church?
Yeah, part of a wonderful Church of England church in Littlehampton. And even that is amazing because the vicar, who's just left literally last week, this guy called Tom, He became a Christian. I was his leader at Spring Harvest when he was 10. Isn't
Wow.
that cool? And he's been my vicar.
Well, isn't that
So it's a
brilliant?
beautiful church, an amazing mix of people. It's quite a poor area in Wick, which is a little suburb of Littlehampton, and you've got people come out of prison through to people who've been in the oil business. I think it's what church should be. Beautiful mix of people, and I love the fact that a road sweeper could lead a house group that's got a CEO in it.
So, not that you have much spare time by the sound of it. What do you like to do to chill out?
Do you know what? I love walking my dog. I've got a beautiful dog called Colby, who you've met.
Yes, lovely.
And the beach is 5 minutes from here, so I love walking her. I spend a lot of time with her. I love watching telly. I love things like the repair shop, which is just recorded up the road. I've met the teddy bear ladies a couple of times. They're lovely. It's just a real escape.
Do you cry watching the repair shop
every
sometimes?
flipping week? Yeah, and if I'm feeling low or sad, I'll watch that. That'll really set me off.
Yeah.
Well, it's good that you get time to chill out, because you've had a few health
Oh man,
challenges the last couple of years.
I don't know about you guys, but until 55, I was fit as a fiddle. I went to the doctors maybe once every 5 years. I mean, my file was so thin. And then sort of a year and a half ago, almost, my wife noticed this little black mark on the underside of my right foot. And she nagged me, and I ignored her a little bit, and she kept nagging me. And I thought, okay. And then it was during COVID, and I realised I could take a photo and send it to the doc. I think it's pretty typical of guys, we don't want to bother people with these things. So I realised I could take a photo, and I sent it into the doc, and she said, "Oh, come in." She looked at it, she said, "I'm not sure, probably not worth worrying about." Referred me to a dermatologist. So I went to see this guy, and he looked at it and prodded it. And do you know what? We got on so well. I showed him a magic trick, and we were having a proper laugh. This Greek guy, really, sometimes when you really connect with people. And he said, "Well, you'll need a biopsy." And he said, "That'll be another 2 weeks." And I said, "Well, who's going to do that?" And he said, "Well, ironically, me, but you'll have to see me at the hospital." And I said, "Come on, Doc, any chance you could do it now?" He said, "Oh, go on then." So I sat on his thing, and he said, "I'm going to warn you, I'm going to inject you into the underside of your foot." And he said, "This is the most painful part of the body." So I'm lying there, and he's fiddling around down there, and I said, "Wow, this is incredible." I thought, I'm really tough. I said to him, "I've not felt a thing." And he said, "Well, I've not done it yet." Then he did it, and I almost kicked him in the face. It was agony. So he did this biopsy, and then 2 weeks later he phoned me and he said, "You've got skin cancer." And not just skin cancer, but a really unusual one that only really black people get. People with coloured skin, with dark skin. And he said, "This is what killed Bob Marley." And I thought, this isn't really helping telling me all this. So 1% of people got this particular type of skin cancer. So I went and on the NHS and got it removed. So that was very painful. So off my feet for a month, and it was gone a certain depth. Then I had to have more taken out, another 3 months off. And they took out a lymph node in my groin because cancer, it spread somewhere. And then they found still traces of cancer. So they put me on this brand new drug called immunotherapy. So apparently chemo and radiotherapy doesn't work with melanoma. You become such an expert on medical things. All these things.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, so the immunotherapy, this new cancer drug, they tried me on. It didn't work, but gave me type 1 diabetes. So that's another blooming nuisance. I'm injecting myself and taking jelly babies when I get low and on insulin. So all this sort of business. So scans in November found it had spread again, pelvis, groin area. So referred to the Royal Marsden to see this incredible professor to see if I could go on a clinical trial. But the amazing thing about cancer, new things are found every day. And I wasn't eligible to go on this trial, but to have this op that this guy only does twice a year. And so they opened me up. I hope no one's eating anything. So I've got this 16-inch scar. So it's like something from Jaws. And they took all the lymph nodes out of my groin and pelvis. This sort of 4-hour operation. And they found cancer in 9 out of the 19 lymph nodes. So I'm back and I'm doing well and I'm driving and gigging. Started gigging again last week. And he said, "Look, the reality is it's likely to come back again, but it doesn't have to." And that's what I need to hear. I need to hear hope from these people. I know they're trained not to give you hope, really, just in case you come back and say, "Well, hang on a minute, you said I'll be all right." As I just said, new cancer drugs are coming out all the time. I'm fit and healthy with a positive outlook on life, and the whole God factor. And I've seen God heal people. He healed my Uncle Richard. So I'm full of faith that I'll be fine. I heard a wonderful quote from Spurgeon, this great preacher, that we're all immortal until our work is done. And I thought, wow.
Well, it certainly sounds like work isn't done by a long chalk, so prayers with you for all of that.
Absolutely.
But we certainly know how to cram it in.
Yes.
Steve, don't you? We're hoping that you'll enjoy your lavish dinner party.
Oh, I
very
love a
soon.
dinner party.
But not before we play our little game of My Favourite Things.
My favourite things.
Okay, yes, Steve, this is a very easy game where we just like to get to know what makes our guests tick.
Okay.
So we'll present you with a range of carefully curated categories, and you tell us your favourite thing in each.
Oh,
Yeah.
brilliant.
Splendid. And our first category, as always, your favourite book of the Bible.
Oh, it's got to be Acts, the Acts of the Apostles. These timid men who'd been with Jesus, who didn't know what was going on after he died and thought it was all over. Obviously met the resurrected Jesus, changed their life, took the gospel to the, I love that phrase, to the ends of the earth.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I love Acts. That's the right answer. Well
Correct
done.
answer.
If you had to go
Yes,
Old Testament out of interest?
Probably Psalms. David, this man who messed up big time and God used him.
Yes.
I just think that's brilliant. Whatever we do, however we mess up, God's in the habit of using people like that. I love it.
Excellent.
Favourite magazine, Steve, apart from Sorted, of course.
Oh, probably one of my magic magazines, actually, because I do magic. We've not even mentioned the magic, really, have we?
No, not
I moved
really.
from the escapology to the magic. Yeah, one of my magic magazines that you would find incredibly tedious, but love it.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about magic.
Oh, yeah.
We've-
Comedy stage
Yeah.
magic, that's what I do. So it's fun, it's daft, it's self-deprecating. We get people up on stage to help. We have a good old laugh and hopefully wow them as well. Do you know, I try to avoid the word magic, and I always say in my act, look, it's not real magic. You know, I don't want to see people marching around the car park chanting, "He's a witch, burn him," you know.
Okay, so our third category is always your top 5 films.
Now, this is an eclectic mix. It
Good.
really is. But having lived with 6 women for years, so I think probably the movie I never get bored of is Die Hard 2. Love Die Hard, but there's something about Die Hard 2 and John McClane, played by Bruce Willis, of course, wasn't the first choice for Die Hard. Bruce Willis was 4th or 5th on the list. So Die Hard 2 is a good one.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Love, don't judge me, Mamma Mia and Mamma Mia 2. I love ABBA. I'd love to have seen them live.
You haven't seen it. We were talking about it on the way down, actually, the holographic show.
Do you know
yeah.
what? Someone sent me 2 free tickets and I couldn't go.
Supposed to be fantastic.
Oh,
yeah.
I've heard it is
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. Okay,
Right.
Independence Day.
nice.
Oh, yeah.
Love
Good one.
Independence Day. Can
Yeah.
watch that again and again. And I don't like sci-fi generally. There's something about the genre. If it was Alien or something set in space, I wouldn't. I guess it's because it's set on Earth. We were talking about Doctor Who with Mark Gatiss. Do you know Mark Gatiss,
Yes.
the actor?
Yes.
I had him on my podcast, no advertising, and we were exactly the same age, and we were talking about this very same thing, about all the ones set on Earth with a brigadier and whatever were much better.
yes.
Anyway, Independence Day, loved. And I think one of the first movies I saw at the cinema, which would have been the Odeon in Bournemouth, was The Spy Who Loved Me. I think my grand took me to see that. That was probably about 75, 76 with Roger Moore. And I didn't realise how rude it was back then and all the innuendos. We didn't, did we? No. You see it years on, you think that is so sexist and awful and inappropriate. So there's my 5. So something for everyone.
Was that 5?
Was that
Yes.
5?
So you've taken up 40% of your top 5
the
with
Mamma Mia.
With Mamma Mia.
I just love feel good, fun, and the music is beautiful.
Yes, that's very good. It's nice to see. We've had quite a few Die Hard. We've
had
never
a
had
few-
Die Hard 2
No,
yet,
Die Hard
but
one we've had a
Die
few.
Hard.
And
as
is it a
franchise-
Christmas movie? This is the big question.
Well, we won't get into that debate because we'll be here all day.
Yeah,
really.
okay.
But it's it's good to see. It's good. All our nice Christian guests always have very violent films.
Yes.
It's nice. Perfect.
Action, I think.
Right.
Action.
Have you had Ben-Hur or any Christian ones on there? The Passion of the Christ? Has anyone said that?
No, that's a good
Have we had
shout.
Ben-Hur?
Ben,
That's my favourite film.
I think
But
Rob
people would
Parsons
say
talked about
Yeah.
biblical
Yeah.
epics, didn't he? But
yeah,
Ben-Hur
because
and-
Ben-Hur would be a.
Yeah.
Would that be a biblical epic? I guess it would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
It was
Yeah.
in those
I mean, it's certainly an
days.
epic
Yeah.
movie.
But
They used to
yes.
show that every Christmas, but they've not for years, have they? Or maybe I'm just missing it. Oh, do you know what? Talking
don't
of Christmas,
think they did.
Sound of Music.
So many good films. There's also It's a Boy. I don't know if you saw that. It was a great
It's
film.
a boy fab. I've heard it's brilliant.
Oh, it's astonishing. Anyway,
Right. Now, our penultimate category is, as usual, our scientifically based and psychologically proven Great 8.
Yep.
So it's 8 quick fire categories.
Oh.
that we feel really sum up a person's character.
Yeah, okay, so
Right,
here we go.
here we
So
go.
just quick fire. Your favourite book, apart from the Bible?
Do you know what? I'm reading Spare by Prince Harry at the moment.
Oh, right.
I've read so many books. That's the only one that comes to mind. In fact, I'm listening to it as well. What a troubled soul.
So you're enjoying it, obviously.
I am enjoying it. It's fascinating.
We were admiring your vast collection of autobiographies and
Yeah, I've
biographies.
got I love all biographies. Oh, I love a Jeffrey Archer. I said maybe said Jeffrey Archer. I once had the opportunity to spend Christmas with Jeffrey Archer, and I said no, and I wish I'd done it. I used to do a bit of TV presenting back in the day. I did a series with Gloria Hunniford many years ago called Sunday. That it was my first presenting job.
Yes.
It was live and it was networked. But I got a sack after the 4th week because I was devastated at the time, but it was too much fun for religious TV. So that I love now. But I was invited to be a guest on another Sunday morning show, and it was going to be on Christmas Day. And it was me and the Archers, Geoffrey and Mary, and we were going to go up Christmas Eve and record live on Christmas Day. But I said no, and I thought, why did I say no? I was a single guy. I was only coming back to have lunch with my mum and dad, and I just so wish I'd done it because I love his books.
I think there's one that I haven't read. I think he's late. I think he released one late last year, and I haven't read it yet. Anyway, very good. Anyway, this isn't very quick fire, is it?
No, sorry.
No, it's not quick fire, anyway. Never mind. Okay, favourite type of food?
Curry.
All right, that's
Good answer.
Very
Correct
popular
answer.
choice. Favourite TV programme?
Probably repair shop.
Nice.
Favourite sport?
Football.
This is good.
Oh, we were to watch or play.
Either.
Oh,
Playing would be badminton.
Oh,
Fastest racket sport. People don't know that. They think tennis or squash, but shuttlecock can go 120 miles an hour. Really good. You want to play doubles though at our age?
Yes, probably right. Probably right. Very good. Favourite band or artist?
Neil Diamond. Oh no, ABBA. Let's say ABBA.
Right.
Love it. Okay.
Or Neil Diamond though.
Love Neil Diamond.
Yes.
He writes songs for lots of other people as well.
Favourite holiday destination?
Do you know, we don't really have many holidays, but for my 50th, a little gang of us went to Ibiza.
Oh,
And we had a wonderful time. It was out of season. Everything was closed apart from all the little restaurants. End of September, beginning of October, went to Ibiza. About, 12, 15 of us. Had a whale of a time. So I love tapas. Years ago when I worked for Barclays Bank, I planned it quite well. So I was sent off to Bournemouth College on day release to do a BTEC in business studies. And so we had to come up with a business plan. And I thought, well, I love starters. I could eat starters all day. And I thought, why don't I invent a restaurant, come up with a restaurant just for starters? And the tutor said to me, have you never heard of tapas? So that's me thinking I come up with this great idea, Mr. Entrepreneur.
Darn it. Very good. Okay. Nearly there. Your favourite chocolate bar?
Oh, Cadbury's Caramel.
Ooh, okay.
Because I'm type 1 diabetic now, it's a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, a bit tricky.
But, well, do you know what? You can have whatever you like, just give yourself a bit more insulin.
Right.
So have a little injection. Oh, let's have a Cadbury's Caramel with a mug of steaming hot coffee. There's nothing like it.
Or could you could possibly stir the whole bar into the coffee?
Do you know, I would imagine some people might do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, I can imagine that
That'd
happening.
be you'd make a mess,
Yeah,
wouldn't
make a mess.
You wouldn't want to do that on your sofa.
It would be horrible.
no way. Okay, board game. Favourite board game?
Not into board games, but I love learning. So Logo, I don't know if you've seen Logo. It started as a game where you identify different logos, but it's then moved on and they do Logo. I got given it for Christmas, Logo Food. So it's kind of like Trivial Pursuits, but has a theme. So the first one's questions about Logo. The one about food is food and drink questions. Yeah, I love learning. The older I get, the more I want to learn.
That's very commendable. I can imagine that being quite fun. So there was a great 8. And our final category on my favourite things is always multiple choice.
Oh, okay.
So I'll give you 3 possible answers. And so, Steve, we'd like to know your favourite Steve. So 3 possible answers.
Okay.
The first Christian martyr, Saint Stephen. $6 million Steve Austin, a man barely alive. Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology to make the world's first bionic man. Or Stevenage.
Oh, Steve Austin. I thought Steve Chalk might be in there. I was going to say Steve Chalk straight away. Steve's been a friend for years and it's inspired me because he's a real entrepreneurial type character. It's got to be the Bionic Man.
Yeah.
Do you know what? In fact, I was referencing this last night. We went out for a curry and I had a coffee afterwards and I had it really hot. And they were staggered that I was drinking this coffee so hot. So I like hot stuff to be hot, cold stuff to be cold. And I said, because they were all much younger than me, years ago, I was watching The Bionic Man and his boss, Oscar, had been replaced by a robot that looked just like him.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And the reason Steve Austin realised it was a robot because he had a scalding hot coffee. I remember that vividly, and the Bionic Woman as well.
Yeah, Lindsay Wagner.
Yeah.
Loved the Bionic Man.
Brilliant.
Did you have the action figure?
I certainly did. He rolled the skin up on the arm, and he looked through the back of the head.
Yeah.
It's good. And it's good that you've chosen Steve Austin over Stephen the Martyr. That's nice.
Yeah. You see what a spiritual man I am.
And poor old Stevenage didn't even get
Do you
a
know, I
mention.
like Stevenage. I've gigged many times at Stevenage. Lovely crowds in Stevenage.
It's great. Some great choices there. I think you'll agree. Well, I think that's pretty much a perfect score there in my favourite things.
Is there a prize?
Yes. We say well done.
Thank you.
And that brings us...
It's a thought that counts.
That brings us beautifully to the palatial surroundings of the Take-A-Pew refectory, because...
It's the fabulous Take-A-Pew dinner party, the miraculous Take-A-Pew dinner party. The food is quite irrelevant and some of the guests are odd. It's the impractical, fantastical Take-A-Pew dinner party.
Yes, Steve.
I tell you, a psychiatrist will have a field day with this.
Oh dear. Steve, this is your chance to host a fabulous, miraculous dinner party. So just a quick reminder of how this works. You have whomever of your family and friends there, but there remain 4 empty chairs.
Yes, and you have to fill 3 of those chairs with someone from any time in history, or indeed still going today, a cartoon character, and a non-domesticated animal.
Okay.
And then on the final chair, there's a gramophone player, which will play a single piece of music of your choice throughout the dinner.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, it could get a bit repetitive, so you have to choose carefully.
So it's time to complete this impractical, fantastical dinner party.
Yep.
So first, the person of your choice from today or yesteryear, and remember, it can't be anyone who appears in the Bible or any of your family.
Do you know what? This is a real struggle. I love Stephen Fry. I find he's got a brilliant mind. But as I mentioned him earlier, someone I really miss. He was a hero of mine as a kid, and that's the late great Bobby Ball. As a kid, you know, growing up in the 70s and 80s, the Cannon and Ball show on a Saturday night, used to love that. They were my comedy heroes. And then I came to faith and I heard that Bobby had become a Christian. I thought, wow, this is incredible. And I started praying for Tommy, and then Tommy became a Christian 6-7 years later. And then I get a call. I'm full-time out on the road doing me escapology and comedy. Cannon and Ball are putting together a Cannon and Ball gospel show that's going to tour the UK. They'd love you to be one of their special guests. So my heroes became my friends, and I was able to spend so much time with the boys on the road, and so many memories. We did 60 nights all over the UK, played to about 55,000 people overall on the tour, and they became such good friends. And Bobby was just a comedy genius, and you know, he died during COVID, and I'd love to have Bobby back.
Nice.
So we had so many laughs. Every night after the show, we'd go back to the hotel, and I got them into egg mayo sandwiches. They'd always have Bacardi and Coke, and Tommy would have a whiskey. And we said egg mayonnaise sandwiches every night, and a couple of pints, and we laughed until the early hours. He was just a genius and such a lovely man. He'd walk into a room, and there was something about that charisma. He would light the whole room up. But he was only tiny, and you know, with a perm and gappy teeth, and he would admit it was nothing to look at, but something about that presence.
That would be nice, and you could serve up egg mayonnaise sandwiches.
We would have
just
egg
for old
mayo
time's
sandwiches.
sake,
That'd be beautiful on brown.
Yeah. No, oh, right, okay.
Plenty of black pepper.
Controversial choice there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so.
White.
Well, I think with egg mayonnaise, you've got to go the full common touch, haven't you, really?
See, I'd also have a sausage sandwich with white.
Yeah, anyway.
Yep.
Another rabbit hole we won't go down. Okay, so so we've got Bobby Ball, then the second is a cartoon character.
Do you know what I think? Probably Mr. Ben.
Oh,
A little bit magical. I was not going to say one trick pony, because I think there are only about 12 in the series. You know, you think, oh, it's Mr. Ben on it. It's the same one again.
Yeah,
you know, go into the shop and get changed, and there was the genie guy in there with the waistcoat and everything. Yeah, Mr. Ben, nice,
in a
dependable
particular
guy.
character, just him as Mr. Ben, suited and booted, going into the shop, or actually as a character.
You choose.
I don't know. I'll go.
No, do you know what I
I'll go
think?
for the scuba diver then. That was my favourite.
Oh,
one.
okay. No, I think I would go with Mr. Ben with the bowler hat and everything. It's
a-
going to
okay,
be. It's a dinner party. If it was
Yeah,
lunch,
no,
I would maybe
good
go
crack.
scuba diver.
that's true,
We
that's
don't want to
true.
be ridiculous
No,
here, do we?
we've got to be sensible.
First rule of comedy:
Stupid of me.
ground it in realism.
Oh, that's fantastic.
good.
Okay, now we've got our non-domesticated animal.
Okay, I love animals. I'm a dog lover. We used to have a cat, Tony, who we lost recently. I always have human names for my pets. I had a dog called Trevor, but I was outvoted on my recent dog, who's called Colby. I think it'd be a hedgehog.
Oh.
I would just want to give my time to my friends and Mr. Ben and Bobby and spend time. Get a hedgehog there on a little seat, a bowl of milk. No, I mean, who would want cattle? Has he ever had anyone want a horse or anything?
We've had a calf.
No, I think a hedgehog.
Hedgehog's a good shout.
I love people.
Yeah.
I'm a people person. I want to concentrate on people. The hedgehog can get on with his own
You'd just be
business.
incidental. He wouldn't really be.
Yeah, he's not
anything,
contributing
not
at
adding
all.
any value.
No, none whatsoever. He's a hedgehog. For
Yeah,
heaven's
it's
sake.
spiky though.
Come on.
Okay. And finally, Steve, the piece of music you play repeatedly throughout the.
You
evening on the
might not
gramophone.
be surprised to know I would choose Sweet Caroline by Neil Diamond.
Oh,
I love that song, and in my act, if you come and see my stage show, that's the last song before I come on stage. Pre-show music is really important, setting the scene. I go to a lot of shows and see, big names, and they've just got some incidental music playing in the background. It's like walking into a library, setting the scene. And this may sound really sad, but during lockdown, when I wasn't gigging for 2 years, if I felt a bit low, I'd get my pre-show music playing. It made me feel happy again. And I love that song, Sweet Caroline. And just before I come on stage, everyone's singing, they're swaying, they got the cigarette lighters, or at Christian gigs, they're the torch on their phone out. It's feel good. I just love smiling. I love being happy.
it just seems to be everywhere, Sweet Caroline, doesn't it?
Well, that's the annoying thing. So when I do it now, I've been playing it for 25 years
Yeah.
in my pre-show. Everyone says, oh, yeah, jumping on the bandwagon there. Of course, with the football and England and everything. But it's not my song. It's Neil Diamond's.
Yeah,
And good on him.
great stuff. Well, I think that's another fine addition to the Take a Pew Dinner Party catalogue. But as we fold our napkins, it's time to finish off our look at the Steve Legg story as we ask you...
12 years from now, what would you like to be doing? Or would it mainly be the same? Or would you rather be canoeing for example?
Brilliant.
Yes, Steve, what would you like us to be talking about if we were having this conversation with you 12 years from now?
Oh, I hope this doesn't sound morbid. I'd like to be alive and still here. And I'd love to be doing what I'm doing. We had dinner recently with a friend, a big name in the Christian world, writes books, well-known speaker, and was talking about hopes and things we wanted to achieve. I'm just so content with what I do. I'd love to do more, but, still running the race, still doing all these things. Hopefully the magazine will be in more places. We'll still be going. I'll be doing the gigs. I'd love to get to 50 years on the road, and that's 15 years away. My girls will be happy and content with lovely friends and partners, and
Sounds very good. We wish you every blessing.
Thank you.
Wherever life and the Lord may take you, Steve. And that brings us on to the last leg of our road trip as we waft past Newport Pagnell services. It's time to get a little more serious.
Yes, very shortly, Steve, it'll be time for your spiritual pearl of wisdom. But just before that, of course, it's the part of the show that we call...
Is it true? Is it true? Is it true? Is it true?
Yes, is it true? And this time we reach back into the Old Testament
Oh, my word.
as we explore the suggestion that Moses was in fact given 15 commandments. Yes, the thought is that there were not 2 but 3 tablets of stone, but there was something on the third stone of 5 commandments which Moses himself found a little inconvenient. And credence is lent to this idea by Deuteronomy 5:22, where Moses says, "These are the commandments the Lord proclaimed, and he added no more. And he wrote them on 2 stone tablets." And I think he doth protest too much.
I think you're right.
It's so, Steve Legg.
Is it true? Is it true? Is it true? Is it true?
Is it true?
Hey, listen, you said that with such authority and weight.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think it's a lot. It makes sense. I don't like the fact he just says that there were no more. Was that all
no more.
Moses? Absolutely.
Do you know what? I think and there were no more ...
Yes.
I think it's a cliffhanger. Cliffhangers are good.
Yeah.
Or were there? Because there have been. I've done quite a lot of research around this, and
Well, if anyone has, you would have done.
yes,
Yeah.
because we do know that Moses had a very evident flatulence problem.
Ooh.
And it's said that the 12th commandment is thou shalt not pass wind in confined spaces.
Gosh, he did, didn't he?
So, given that as one of the holy commandments, Moses, you could just imagine he must
he
just to
couldn't-
drop the tablet down the side
He
of
couldn't
the...
stick to that, could he?
Or in a lift. I mean, that'd be wrong on every level, wouldn't it?
Hey!
Oh, come on.
So who knows? It is quite interesting to think what the
Yeah.
other commandments could have been, because it's a bit like the fruit of the Holy Spirit, isn't it? It's kind of a complete list. It's hard to think of anything else.
I think it said be nicer. Cheer up. Be nicer. Smile. We've got the best news in the world. Why are we
Indeed.
not all walking around with grins? I'm sure that'll be on there, Ian. Listen, be fascinated to hear of your research and how that goes. I feel there's a PhD in this,
There's
don't you?
definitely.
So
Yeah,
there's some
more in that.
element of, possibly for the first time ever, there might be some element of truth in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows? But
knows?
anyway, thank you for
Yeah, yeah.
clarifying that
Yeah,
for us,
that's good.
Steve.
Oh, you're very welcome.
I'll keep you
Pleased to
posted.
help.
Yeah.
And with that, it's the truly splendid part of the show when you share with us your spiritual pearl of wisdom.
It's a spiritual pearl of wisdom.
Do you know what, fellas? This is really simple, and I've just learnt this 35 years on the road. And I said, write this down if you can. If you get anything out of this, finance follows faith. And I like it because it's got 3 F's in it, but it's true. And all the projects I've done, I think if I'd have waited for the money to come through, the cartoon, the gigs, the magazine, Sorted magazine, all these things I've done, the money's never come in. It's come in as I've stepped out. You know, raising $250,000 for a kids' cartoon. If I'd have sat round, I mean, the last 50 grand just came from one person. I mean, it's phenomenal. Step out in faith. This is why I have so many grey hairs, because finance follows faith. Very, very simple, but it's been my experience. If you think something's right, you're stepping out in something and you feel it's of God, you've chatted it through with pals and you've prayed about it and you think it's right, you crack on and that money will come in.
It's a spiritual pearl of wisdom.
Well, thank you very much for that, Steve. As ever, if only we could call it quits with that. But no one is more disappointed than I that we must indulge Simon by letting him do this.
Simon's random question.
Simon, what's your random question for Steve?
Well, Steve, please forgive the rather predictably obvious nature of my question, but it is this. If you had to spend your entire waking life on a unicycle, would you rather be a postman or a dentist?
Oh, a postman. I love getting post. Posted parcels, letters, definitely any time. No one likes going to the dentist. I'm friends with my dentist. I don't like going to see him. I've got friends who are dentists. The thought of going to the dentist, dentists scare people. I know they do a very important job, but posty anytime.
But on a unicycle?
Oh, yeah. You just lob letters to
Okay.
people.
Yeah.
I think it'd be dangerous because dentistry could be, on a unicycle, could
I
be
mean,
difficult.
even
You'd
the
wobble
best,
about.
you're going
Wobble
back
about,
and forward.
you'd be all
You
backwards
don't
and
want to be
forwards, wouldn't
drilling into someone's tooth. You get into their
that's true.
cheek and all sorts.
On the other hand, the letterbox on our door, for example, is right at ankle height, so I don't know how you'd... And we've got gravel, you'd be falling over all
bend
the
down,
time,
yeah.
skin your knees.
Well, I see it like being paper deliveries in America. You see the kids
Yeah.
up and down
Yeah.
on their bikes, all rolled up, just throwing it onto the step. I think that's the only way it would work.
Yeah, but then it would be actually a good bit of exercise as well, wouldn't it?
Well, exactly.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah,
Can you
all right.
can you do a unicycle, by the way? Can you ride a
No,
unicycle?
do you know what? I tell you what, I used to be great on a pogo stick. Do you know what? I had a pogo stick in my shed for about a year, and I kept having a little go. It was a Christmas present, I think. Utterly useless. I never forget it, 11 years old, and this girl moved into our street that everyone in our school fancied. She moved down from Leeds, and we all wanted to get her attention. So we all played football in my road, and we lost so many footballs into the neighbours' gardens, they weren't giving them back. So we thought, how are we going to get her to notice us? So we got a pogo stick out. And that summer, we all became amazing on the pogo stick. And it's just a lovely little story because none of us got the girl, but the journey was more fun than the final destination. And we became mates, and all the cool kids came to my house, and we all became brilliant. I even did a Malcolm X. It's a special, very special type of stunt. But we digress again.
Well, that's
Far more
fantastic.
depth to that than I thought. But
Yeah.
I'm beginning to think, Simon, that you may
Yeah.
be out to sabotage the entire show
No.
with such ridiculous questions. But in any case, that was...
Simon's random question.
And so, Steve, with that, we breathe a sigh of relief as we pull onto the driveway at the end of our long and occasionally arduous journey on the Take a Pew podcast. Thank you for having us, and thank you for being on the show.
It's been a blast. Thank you, fellas.
And dear listeners, thank you for being with us in the back seat. We hope that we have somehow enriched your life, although we fear that's unlikely. But in any case, please don't forget to like and subscribe and follow and all that good stuff to keep up with all the Take a Pew news. Simon and I will be back very soon with yet another awesome guest. But in the meantime, it's Toodlepip from me.
And tatty bye from me.
Join us again next time as we Take a Pew.